Welcome to another episode of Hot versus Hype. Today we're talking about the future of AI and how data will shape the next generation of intelligence systems. We're lucky enough to have a guest with us from Zappo Bank today, who's Andreea. Andreea, would you share a few words on who you are and what you're working on?
Sure. Thank you for having me in the first place. So I've been in Zappo for the past 4 years. I'm leading the team and the data strategy and ultimately everything data at Zappo. Some key initiatives that I think are relevant to our conversation today were the one building a lake house in GCP. That's actually the project that brought us together and how we met,
Yes.
Olivia. So it's what we call the data platform, which is our cornerstone. And now we are taking it to the next level by focusing on bringing AI and accelerating the adoption of AI across Apple Bank.
Which is a perfect segue into my first question. In financial systems in general, what's one way data is actually genuinely moving AI forward? And what area do you think hype is around it that doesn't really match the reality? It's a big question, just to get us started.
Yeah, it is. And there are many areas because I think there is, of course, we are a fintech. So we have definitely the financial aspect, but then we also have the operational aspect of like any other company. So just focusing on the financial aspect, of course, a key concern is around fraud and AML risk, which stands for anti-money laundering. So there, I think data and AI in general, or machine learning, how you want to call it, is really important. So the more data you have and the higher quality, you'll be able to better detect and prevent fraud. And we've seen that ourselves.
And do you think there's much? Yeah, I was about to ask, what's the hype in that? I mean, I know we're working on some hot stuff.
Yeah, I think the hype is when you consider just the volume of data. So many think that, I just need a lot of data. So they just collect everything, they just drop it. And especially now with Gen AI, they think like it doesn't matter, it's data and the AI is intelligent, it will tell and be able to tell. So I just throw everything there and it will be able to find the signal.
And do you have a good example maybe that illustrates that, of throwing all the data at something and it maybe not working the way that everyone expected it?
Let me think. To be honest, I don't have a good example because I think we've been good at preventing that to happen. I don't know. It's so that I don't have, and I think it's also not something that's very talked about. Like people, they don't go and they say, "Oh, look at the thing that we've done." So I just know the typical ones where, like, I remember an example, and it's not exactly that; it's related, where you just throw and you don't understand exactly what the model is doing. And the developers thought they trained the model to recognize, I think it was a bear, like white bears. And in reality, the model was recognizing the snow around. So essentially, every image that had snow was like that this is a white bear. Exactly. So it's not, it's an example I read about, but I think it illustrates the case that it is AI, you throw data, it will come up with results, and sometimes they will look like right, but you really need to make sure that that is supported by strong foundations. You could call them theoretical or logical foundations, and you need to make sure that you're evaluating those results properly.
Which we'll get into this more in the deep dive, because I'm quite interested to know about how you think evaluation is currently done from AI and machine learning perspective, how you see it in the future and what kind of trends that are around that. But do you maybe just like a 2-second touch on that? How are you currently thinking about those things?
Wow, that's a big topic. And I think now is the one of the biggest topics in the industry, like how do you evaluate?
Just a small
Like,
question for you, Andrea. Nothing complex in a short period of time for us to discuss.
and I think I think about it very meta at this point. And why? Because with AIs, now, especially the Gen AI, you need to be very good at describing what you want. So you need to be very good at abstract thinking and breaking the problem into pieces and describing those pieces. So then the AI can execute it, right? So once you've done that, you get the result. Now, I think you need to be very good at describing the pieces to be able to evaluate that result. So it feels that you're getting kind of in a cycle. So then I'm wondering, so if you do that again when you're evaluating, you won't be able to. So again, it seems that you need to use an AI. So how do
An
you
AI to
control?
evaluate the AI.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I guess I don't have a good answer. So you have, of course, the typical, you have the test, like what they do. But I feel like those ways are superficial and
I
many
think
times they're not relevant.
Yeah, I think the answer you provided really highlights how new what we're working with is. So I do feel it's a good answer in many ways because it's an evolving kind of space. It was a little bit cheeky of me to even ask it, but I'm always interested to know what your thoughts are on this. So I couldn't help myself. Maybe I'll ask something that's probably a little bit higher level, but with the AI initiatives that you're looking at, working on, seeing, researching, etc., what are you seeing at the moment, specifically in the financial industry, that you can see is really adding value?
Again, I think the fraud is a big one, and it will stay a big one because it's a true problem and it's a complex problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's all the I see a lot of value in agents optimizing workflows. So there is a lot of even in a tech company that is already highly automated and relying on tech systems doing jobs. So not having like physical offices like us, not having a lot of typical man operation financial services, you still have people doing what you could call manual work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are things, and sometimes, especially when you need to do things across systems, across platforms, with a lot of interruptions, you're waiting on customers to do something and so on. So there are
Disconnected
some
tasks.
very
Yeah.
in especially in areas like customer success,
Mm-hmm.
in areas like back office, there are payment operations. So in those areas, I see a lot of potential for having agents to simply take those chores. So leaving our teammates time to focus on the real high value work that they do otherwise.
And what do you see? I know you've got, let's call it a really good hype radar. What do you see at the moment out there that you just call that's just total hype in the industry?
Hmm. I think it goes back to people believing that the AI can miraculously read minds and solve any problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I think that's
like
pretty fair.
it's like you have, and depending on the type of use case. So you have, let's say, the typical assistant. So it's a human computer interaction. So you have somebody prompting, right? Asking for something. There is this belief that you will write, I want, let's say, I don't know, marketing strategy. So you say, I want a marketing strategy, and somehow people believe that AI will be able to miraculously produce an amazing marketing strategy for you. But no, that's not going to be the case, and it doesn't matter on how much data that AI is trained. It will still give you, you could think of it the average. It's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be right for you. So I think there, going back to the data, it's so important for you to provide your own proprietary data
Mm-hmm.
and that to work together with AI to produce something that can be valuable and indeed right for you. Because it's not the correct strategy in general. I think it needs to be the right strategy for you. So I
That
think
makes sense.
people.
Yeah. And I think what you're inferring is very good for us to wrap up this episode, which is, data is really the cornerstone for the AI system's future, right? You could argue that it makes it change from being hype to being hot is really how you handle your data, and that being key to what the future of AI is. Would you say something similar to that?
Yeah, I totally agree. Because I
Yeah.
think first and foremost, the AI systems live on data. They feed on data. Like they need good quality data to become something valuable.
Mm. So would you
And
say that that means that it's fair to say that it's hot if you're looking after your data properly to ensure that the AI can do its job? Otherwise, it could get towards the hype kind of side of things.
100%. Like you can't expect to have messy data and then the AI to use that and produce something that's useful to you.
Well, you've heard it here. It's definitely something that Andrea agrees with. We think data is the future of AI and the way that it's handled. It is hot and it is not hype. Thank you very much for spending time with us today, Andrea. Appreciate it.